Next guest says this court decision will, quote, never be accepted. Tony Perkins is the president of the Family Research Council. Tony, what do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, Megan, let's look at, for instance, the issue of abortion back in 1973. The court said it was going to take this issue off the table. It wasn't going to be a political issue. 42 years later, it's an issue in every election from president on down. And, I mean, look how divided the court was. They weren't just divided, they were deeply divided, and the dissenting opinions that were written were very strong. In fact, the justices wrote their own so they could express themselves. That's reflective of where the nation is on this, because it's so intertwined with religious freedom. And we've already seen that. You've reported on it. Todd Starnes at Fox News has these stories weekly about how faith is in collision with this agenda that the president has embraced and the court now has endorsed.
What do you make of, the people who, you've heard Professor Turley reference it, that say if you oppose this ruling, if you have questions about it, you must be a bigot. And, the thing that you're up against, Tony, is you look at, for example, the plaintiff in the case today, a dear man who was standing out in front of the Supreme Court today honoring his partner. We have the soundbite. Let me play it for you.
Most importantly, I'd like to thank John for loving me, for making me a better man, and for giving me something worth fighting for. I love you. This is for you, John. Thank you.
And folks say, how can you deny him the right to marry the person he loves?
Look, no one denies them the right to live as they please, living with one another. But I encourage people to go to freetobelieve.com and look at all of the stories of people like Aaron and Melissa Klein, who used to have a bakery, but after $135,000 fines for simply not wanting to be a part of a same-sex wedding, were driven out of business. There is a reason that people have deeply held beliefs. Look, religion is so entwined with who we are as a nation. I mean, that's why we have this nation. It was founded upon that freedom to believe, the freedom to live your life according to your beliefs. That's at stake here. And for Christians, for evangelicals, those who follow the Bible, this is not an issue that can be negotiated away. I mean, Jesus himself in Matthew 19 said, have you not read from the beginning that God created them male and female, and for that reason a man will leave his mother and father, cling to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. Jesus spoke specifically to what marriage was.
What do you do with that now? I mean, in the face of the Supreme Court decision, obviously I'm sure you'd like to have it reversed or have it overturned by a later court, but where does the battle go now for a group like yours and people who are defending this view of marriage?
Well, for instance, you were talking with Jonathan about where this may lead. I think you look at the Solicitor General, Donald Verrilli, and what he said in the oral arguments, that this was going to be an issue for religious institutions like colleges and universities and other religious organizations, not initially the churches. I think they'll leave them alone. They'll be the last they go after. But they'll take away the tax exemption, the accreditation. They'll take away grants. There will be an effort to force people to conform. We're seeing it in the corporate world. We'll see it in government. We'll see it in the public square. But I'm just here to say, Megan, that this is not going to go away. Just as Roe v. Wade did not solve the abortion issue, this is not going to solve the issue of what marriage is. Marriage preceded this court. It preceded this country. It has been around since the very beginning, and it's here to stay. The natural definition of man and woman, of marriage, is a man and a woman, and it's going to remain that way through the end of time.
Tony, good to see you. Thanks for being here tonight.
All right, Megan.